Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today, we're just gonna be tackling some house projects that we have been putting off for a while. So the tile guy is actually in there right now doing some of the downstairs bathroom tile. He might move on to the kitchen backsplash. So I have to kind of lay out all of that tile. But first, we have to go run some errands, have to get a couple of supplies just from Home Depot and maybe get some Chick-fil-A, and then we will get started.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a Cobb salad,
No bacon or cheese.
ranch, and a small fry with that as well.
Order for Jake?
Yeah,
You guys coming for something or what?
Yeah.
sort of.
What's it for?
We're redoing our house, so we're vlogging the whole process.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Alright, you guys, is that food?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You
too.
too. So if you can see here, this is like part of the jam that was not stained. So we have to stain that, but we're seeing that the trim actually kind of covers most of it. This is just temporary because all of the trim isn't in yet. It like hasn't been delivered, but we're thinking we need to rip this off and stain that whole perimeter, along with like, if you look at this part and this part, as well as on the other side. So that's kind of what we're tackling. This is our primary bedroom, by the way. I realized I haven't done a full tour yet, which we'll be doing when we're further along, but this is like our balcony off of our bedroom. So if you've never stained anything before, the order of operations essentially is you sand it down really well, then you condition it with like a wood conditioner, which just helps the stain really like sink in and look its best. Very beginning, we made that mistake by not using it, and it looked like shit. So we have been doing that with everything we've stained, conditioning it first, and then we do whatever stain we're gonna do, probably twice, and then you let that completely dry in between coats, and then you do kind of like a sealer at the end, especially if it's like an exterior piece of wood or door. So those are the steps that we're kind of following for all of these like door jambs and thresholds. So Jake just did the conditioner on almost all of them, and so now we're gonna actually go in and do the stain. And we're using the color, I think, Golden Pecan. And yeah, let's do it. Okay, so I'm also explaining this to Jake because he's never done the staining before, but essentially what we're doing is dipping one of the rags. So I have two rags here and a glove. I'm dipping one of the rags to be like super saturated in the stain, which, wait, let me actually get some. Got the stain, stirred up really well. I'm gonna stir this for like a good 30 seconds. Then I'm dipping my one rag in like this, like pretty saturated. And so I have this one and then this clean one. And so what you're gonna do is just rub it on like this. And then if there are any spots that get sort of too much, you're just going to wipe it off with this one. So you're always gonna have a super saturated one and one that's just for like cleanup and rubbing in excess. Because what you don't want is for it to start to like pool in places. So you just want a nice even coat. So that's what we're gonna do all the way around. And yeah, it usually takes 2 coats, but we'll see how this goes on. We essentially just want it to match the doors. I'm here in the laundry room, and we also need to paint the trim of this window. So it's going to be Swiss Coffee, Benjamin Moore. The rest of this room is Pashmina. And above here, we're going to have this really pretty wallpaper. But I was thinking to break up some of the Pashmina, of keeping this a lighter color. It's hard to see with the lighting. But I was thinking of keeping this Swiss Coffee, which is just like a warm white. The baseboards are gonna be Pashmina. It's gonna be very like tone on tone. But I do want this window to stand out because we actually framed this out ourselves. I'm gonna have a whole video on the laundry room. But yeah, so I'm just going to tape stuff off and then put a coat of primer on this. So most of this is actually primed already. But as you can see, when we were painting the beadboard, I definitely got a little bit up on here. So I do want to just prime the spots that need it before we do a coat of Swiss Coffee. Better about taking care of our brushes. I totally let this one just get hard as a rock. So now I'm using it as a paint stirrer. But seriously, like if you are ever painting, you can keep your brushes wet for I think up to like 24 hours in saran wrap if you wrap it really nice, which we learned. But then we literally wrapped ours and forgot to wash them for like a week, so we suck. So while Jake's finishing up the staining on this Dutch door, I'm looking at our backsplash tiles because I have a few decisions I need to make on these. You can see they're each different. There's probably maybe 5 or 6 different patterns in this like lot, and the color also varies a bit. So let's see. Yeah, like if you can see, there's a lot more white in this one than this one. We tried to pick ones with a lot of this like warm color around the edges, but we went to like every Floor and Decor and honestly just did our best. But yeah, so I need to figure out if I want to lay them in a brick pattern or like straight. I don't actually know what this is called, but brick pattern or like straight up and down like this. So I'm just kind of playing around, laying them out and seeing like what patterns shouldn't go next to each other and all that type of stuff. So this is more or less what it would look like kind of stacked. This is what it would look like in the brick pattern. And I expected to like this stacked more, but I actually think I like this. I feel like with this, it almost doesn't matter as much what patterns are touching and if like two of the same are touching. Whereas with the stacked, I think that would be more obvious and like kind of awkward. Let's see. Like this almost just looks like too perfect. Whereas this, maybe it looks like it has more character. He agrees, that looks
That's too perfect. That looks way better.
You think this looks way better?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, problem solved. Okay, so it's the next day. I'm back and we were talking to our tile guy yesterday and he's gonna come back tomorrow and do this kitchen backsplash. So what I have to do, since I was saying how all of the tiles are kind of different and I just want them oriented so that none of the same two patterns are touching each other, just so that it looks as random and natural as possible. So he asked me to arrange them entirely, like on the floor, so that he can just put them up exactly how I've arranged them. So that's what I'm gonna be doing right now. I think what I'm going to do is map out, like draw out the exact shape, and just like draw it out like an outline on the floor and then fill it in with tiles and then rearrange until I'm happy with how they look. They also have to go here where those boxes are for the little coffee nook. Okay, so the middle point is 115 inches from the fridge side and 87 inches from the mudroom side. When I say middle point, it's obviously not actually the middle because each side is different, but that is sort of the focal point under the range hood. So whenever you're doing tile, you always have to start in like the most important part. So he's gonna be starting here. So when I map it out on the floor, I'm gonna have a line for the middle point, and then we'll just kind of work in either direction. So I know that here we're going to do 5 bricks up. So it will go like just above the cabinets, and I'm doing that just so we can use like full bricks and they don't have to be cut, and I think it'll look good. So I know we're doing 5 bricks up here. This piece is, I only have to account for 2, and it's literally like 1.5. And then this is where I need to figure out how many we actually need. So I think he marked them up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe 8 if it is supposed to touch this point. Yeah, so maybe I'll just do 8, and then whatever he can't use here, or whatever he has to cut here, he can use down here, because he actually recommended that we go a little bit below the counter height here, so that if you can kind of see down under the range ever, just because it's gonna fit pretty snug, but if it's like rounded down or anything, you might be able to see drywall if you don't do like an inch or so of tile below this countertop line. So anyway, I'm gonna count out 8 bricks for here, and that should account for the extra on the top and the bottom.
Switch